Good morning, everybody. My name is Julia. This is the fucking yoga company. No, not that kind of yoga. We had a little technical issue this morning, but that's all right. I think I've got it straightened out. This is a beginning yoga class where we warm up and we're going to work on finding your alignment in a particular pose. Today we're going to be working on trikonasana, which is triangle pose. We're going to be warming up and we're going to get ourselves into some good alignment today, healthy alignment, keeping squishing our knees, squishing our elbows. So first we start in comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. We're going to take a moment to get ourselves settled, taking a scan of the body, checking in, state and quality of the physical form. I want you to notice, I'd like you to notice or take note of the state and quality of what's going on in the body this first thing this morning. What have you done this week? What might be heading your way? Just take a moment to notice the state and quality of the physical form, where you feel a little ache and pain. Let's call it ache and tightness. And we're going to move that intention and awareness into the state and quality of our thinking. And we're going to check into what is going on in our brains. Maybe nothing. Maybe you've woken up and you're relaxed and you had some coffee and you're chilling out. Maybe things are starting to rev up. That to-do list is getting to you. We want to move all of that off to the side and create a nice, clear, open field of thought for the practice so that we can spend our time only on our mats. So once we've found that silence, let's move it into the awareness of the breath. And we're going to notice that soft, easy inhale and soft, silent exhale. And now wherever you're at in the length and balance of your breath, let's invite that breath to get a little bit longer and a little bit deeper. We're working towards balancing the length of inhale to match the length of exhale. And that's the rhythm of the breath that we're going to attempt to keep throughout the practice. And wherever you are in the length and balance of that breath, let's exhale all the air out of the lungs. I'm going to blink my eyes open and I'm going to connect a sweep of the arms toward the ceiling to the next inhale. We're just going to move the body in coordination with the length and balance of the breath. Let's come on up through that stretch. We're going to take our first lateral extension. Right hand's going down a little longer through the space of the ribs toward the ceiling. And now reach up and away from that hip rather than collapsing over to the side. I want you to kind of get long. Drop that knee toward the mat. And then we're going to slowly inhale up and switch. So we're working trikonasana today. It is a lateral stretch and some core work. Traditionally, rather than a hamstring stretch, we're going to talk about both versions today. So we're going to talk about that big lateral extension, and then we're going to work through what we call in Vinyasa Yoga a release valve, which is what changes the pose and shifts it into the leg. Try to keep that shoulder blade tipped back toward the spine. We want to put that work right in the lateral extension. We're going to come up through our inhale and take first forward fold, tracing fingers down, tucking the chin, rolling through the shoulders. This is an excellent place for the block. I'm going to use that this morning. I'm feeling kind of tight in my low back. We're going to rest body weight on the elbows. That can be on the legs, anywhere from knees to ankles, the block, or the floor. I want you to wiggle the toes and relax the feet. We shift a lot of tension into our feet and can get foot cramps. Tuck the chin at the bottom of that bow. And let's take 3 balanced breaths right here. With your next inhale, lengthen arms. Let's walk our hands back. We're going to take a stretch up through the ceiling. Nice big stretch and inhale. If I can, little mush mouth today. We're going to open up those arms, palms to the ceiling. Soften the elbows, shrug the shoulders. We're going to reach back behind the body, bow the chin forward, and then slowly let those hands drift down toward the mat. Tucking hands next to hips, palms behind us. We're going to work some 2 forms of semicircles. So we're going to take our ear tilt over to one shoulder, gaze turns forward. And as we exhale slowly through the articulation of the cervical spine, we're going to move in repetition. Working through that tension in the neck becomes important when it's important in general in yoga because your neck tries to hold up your body weight with your shoulders, but particularly in lateral extensions or lateral weight bearing poses, we definitely feel that tension in the neck. So let's come down through our bow with the chin, lift the head up, and now we're going to turn the head and look as far over to one side as you can. Unclench your teeth. And then let's look forward and turn it to the other direction. And we're going to do that 2 more times. All right, let's bring our gaze back to center. We're going to trace fingers around the body. If you happen to be sitting cross-legged, you can change the cross of the legs. We're going to rock a little side to side. We're going to work a little bit more through our obliques and latissimus dorsi. Let's come on up. So we're going to take our right side down, reach up in that lateral extension. Come on up, and then we're going to tilt over toward the knee and take a bow. We're going to come on through our reach and take that to the other side, and then we're going to make a little modification for this. So come on over for that stretch. And then turn across to bow towards the opposite knee. Coming on up. All right, we're going to change this up a little bit. So let's take the hand to a little closer to the knee. So I'm going to line my thumb right on up with the outside of my thigh. I'm going to bring that hand a little closer. It's going to give me a little deeper of a bow. And I'm going to press on up and do that in the other direction. So same thing, just line that thumb up right with the outside of the knee. Take your twist and sweep on over. Engaging up. All right, this time we're going to take both hands down. I'm going to line that out, my right hand up to the center of my right knee and reach a little bit further past that hand with the left arm. Pressing on up. Do the same in the other direction. And now let's come up and take our forward fold. So we'll trace fingers down, tucking the chin, coming through the space of the elbows. Remember, you can rest on the legs or the block, wiggle the toes, relax the feet, unclench the teeth, and tuck that chin at the bottom of that bow. Let's inhale through the arms, walking hands back, taking a stretch up toward the ceiling. Releasing hands open, soften the elbows, shrug the shoulders, reach back behind the body, bow the chin forward. Let those hands come on down to the hips, turn them back. We're going to take that slow tilt of the ear over to one side. One more time in both directions, and then we'll take our twists with the head turn. We want to warm up these strap muscles. We want to work out any creaks and tightness we already have, because we're going to try to avoid adding extra tension, but sometimes you just can't help it. All right, let's bring that gaze forward. I'm gonna sweep my arms around the front of my body. We're gonna move to hands and knees. I like to pad my knees with a blanket. I'm also gonna move my block out to the end of my mat in case I wanna use it. It's always good the first thing this morning. Grab a quick drink of water. When we move to hands and knees, I'd like you to place your hands on the mat first, side by side, fists side by side. Then rest the knees to either sides of your hands. We're going to take the heels of the hands, we're not stacking shoulders over wrists. You're going to hear that a lot in other brands of yoga. It's not good for you. Anybody with carpal tunnel will tell you it's just a terrible position. We're going to keep our hips stacked 90 degrees over our knees right here, but we're going to move the heels of our hands out in front of our shoulders, half to a full palm's length. So you're going to feel a little overextended from your knees to the heels of your hands. And that takes some of the pressure off of your wrists, which is good for people with carpal tunnel. And it lets us soften these elbows. You're going to hear me say that. It's a squish. And we can put the weight of our body in the muscles rather than hanging the body weight on the joints. We can shrug our shoulders down away from the ears. And then you're going to feel that engagement of the core, light engagement of the core. And now we're supporting our body weight with our core rather than just resting on the bones. So let's take some Chakravakasana bows. If you've been here before, you're familiar with that. Let's take a nice big inhale at center. Release the chin, rest the elbows to the mat, sweep those hips back, bowing toward the floor, wiggle the fingers and roll the wrists. Inhaling forward, we're going to do that 3 more times, releasing the chin. Then take the forearms down, hold for just a beat there. Now tuck the tailbone and reach yourself back for the bow. Wiggling the fingers, roll the wrists, make some fists. And come forward again. My hands are very wide and my pinkies are almost to the edge of the mat. And that gives me an open space between my ear and my shoulder. If you have any pinching or you're dealing with some teres minor issues or even delt stuff in the shoulder, that wide space will help keep those channels open. And we're going to inhale. We're going to take oxen lean because it is a lateral stretch. So just lean your hip out to one side and look over the opposite shoulder. Give me a little slide back into the hip. Inhaling through center, lean into that hip and look over the other side. We're going to do that one more time in both directions, and then we're going to add to the strength of that lateral stretch. Really important for us when we warm up for trikonasana. Now I'm going to lean in this direction, take the left hand off the mat, reach the right arm across it, and now drop the body as far toward the ground as you can, and then lean away from the extension of the hands. Come on up, and we're going to switch. Right hand's going off the mat. Left hand's going to go over the top. Drop the body back toward that opposite heel. Try to fold as far toward the floor as you can. Release the chin into the chest. Lean into that shoulder. Lean into the ribs. Lean back away from the heels of the hands. Coming on up. Come into center. We're going to take a little angry cat tuck. So tuck the tailbone. Release the chin. And now arch the back up toward the ceiling. And soften my elbows. Inhaling through center. Let's take one Chakravarkasana bow. Release the chin. Place the elbows down and sweep back for that bow. Let's wiggle the fingers, roll the wrists, make those fists. Coming forward. Let's take our 2 oxen leans just in the regular form. We're going to take our left hand off the mat, right hand goes across, lean all the way back, bow as close to the floor as you can, and press into that opposite shoulder and rib cage. Let's switch sides. Coming through center, big angry cat tuck. All right, we're going to tuck the toes and press up to the feet. I'm going to center my weight on the balls of the feet, so I have to step forward just a little. I'm still behind my wrists. Soften the elbows, shrug those shoulders down away from the ears. And now let's take a big runner stretch. We're just going to push into one heel, relax out of the other knee, light engagement of the core. Breathe. So much to think about. And switch sides. And let's switch one more time. Soften those elbows for me. Shrug those shoulders down and back, open and away. So many directions. All right, we're going to glance forward, mind the blanket. We're going to walk ourselves up. Take a bend of the knees, lift the head and shoulders, and let's give me this reverse crunch all the way through the ceiling. Nice big stretch on up. Give me a big open palm up circle. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to work through those shoulders. And again. All right, soften the elbows for me. Come on up. We're going to take our big lateral extension. So again, I want you to tuck the shoulder back. Come on. Touch the right hand to the right leg and reach up and away. Coming on up and to the other side. Coming up, we're going to take 3 forward folding chairs. So that's just to sit back into the heels, let the body relax over the top of the thighs, take that hang like a noodle. Lift the head and shoulders, scoop up through that lift. We're gonna go right back down. Big circle with the arms and then fold. Lift head and shoulders, reverse crunch it up. One more time. Lift the head and bring it on up. Big open arm circle. All right, I'm gonna move my blanket out of the way because I wanna talk to you about two things that have to do with lateral extension. I'm gonna tighten my shorts a little bit. Good news, they're a little loose. Bad news is they just seem to keep falling down. Oh, first world problems. Okay, so two things that go into lateral extensions that we don't always think about. I gotta take this off so you can see my shoulder blades. I'm gonna turn my back to you first. Well, let's talk forward first. So we've talked a little bit about lateral extension and neutral position of the feet, soften the knees. So what I want you to think about are hips. Actually, there are three things we're gonna think about. Sorry, it got really complicated really fast. So first we're talking about shoulders. So shoulders, right, we all tend, I'll turn this way, we all tend to kind of roll forward here. And you can see what that does. I lose my power of core. I'm kind of tucking through my low back and I'm slouching. And then ladies, let's face it, I'm on the north end of 50. That means our heads go forward, and what we're gonna do is grow this bundle of muscles. You've seen it, it's called a dowager's hump, and it's called a dowager's hump for a reason. When you see women get older, we tend to slouch, and then we build these muscles because we're trying to hold the weight of our head up through the extension of our neck. And that's not designed to handle that kind of weight in this position, right? We want to lift up through the front of the body. I want you to roll these shoulders back. Think about lining those biceps straight with those side ribs, right? And what you'll see is, I'm gonna do this in this direction, turn my back to you, is this squeeze together of the shoulder blades. Now this becomes important for a variety of reasons. So I'm gonna show you that one more time before I turn myself back to the camera. Lift up, see that extension in my back, and now it's an engagement of the shoulder blades toward the spine and a slight rotation down into the ribs. So imagine my hands are my shoulder blades, right? I want you to go from kind of this position to this position, and then a little rotation down into the ribs. Now that does multiple things for us. First of all, the lift of the body engages the transverse abdominis, which is the core. The shoulders then rotate back. It activates our pecs. We activate our rhomboids, and we are protecting our shoulder girdle because there are multiple problems with shoulders as we get older. It's just stuff dries out. And ladies, you hearing me, all of my ladies, we get these impingements in our shoulder. It could be frozen shoulder. It could be teres minor issues. It could be rhomboid minor issues. So it's just better to have good posture, and we're activating and holding our body weight up through the top of the intercostals and the upper transverse abdominis, okay? So that's one. So we want to keep that tilt of the shoulder blade, and look, when we tilt the shoulder blade back, you can't lift your bicep up by your ear. When I say shrug your shoulders, I want you to shrug your shoulder down and back and into that spine. And you see that opens up this space, from this 90-degree space from the line of my ear out the top of my shoulder. Soften the knees. A lateral extension then comes from the core rather than being up here. This is not extension. This is compression of that, of the delts and the radial nerve, and it just squeezes everything in. It takes the weight out of the muscles of the upper back. And then we're kind of hanging weight on these, the top of the latissimus dorsi. So that's one thing that we're going to think about when we're doing trikonasana is keeping that engagement of the shoulders. So let's do that first. So make a nice, lovely bowl shape with your arms. If you shrug your shoulders up, you can squeeze those biceps up towards your ear. But look what happens. My shoulders raise. I'm kind of hunching my neck. It's not a very appealing line, and it's not good for your muscles. So let's open up, bring those shoulder blades down, lift through the chest, engage those shoulder blades back. See how much more room you have, and then feel that power. The upper body weight is focused on the core strength from the top ribs up to the top of the shoulders and through the back. All right. Second thing to think about are our hips. Rocking those hips side to side. All right, this is a release valve. Now, a release valve in yoga is something that takes out the strength of a pose. But in trikonasana, I like that release valve, and I just treat it as a different version of the pose because it can shift that stretch into your hamstring rather than the lats. All right, so the thing about a hip, though, is if you lean into a hip, so let's all lean into a hip. We've done this before. If you've been with me before, see what happens? I lock that knee, so I'm out of my muscles completely, and I've just lost the activation of my belly, of my core. My moms out there know that this is the traditional position. We're hauling groceries or hauling kids. We feel like it's a relaxed pose. We feel like we're relaxing in this pose, but what we're doing is putting strain on fascia and joints to hold body weight up. They're not designed to do that. So I want you to think about straightening, balancing the hips. Give me that squish of the knees, right? That soft squish of the knee. And then I want you to think about balancing the hips so that you're in the same plane, okay? One hip's not higher than the other, and we might have to work on that because, right, we've created all of this imbalance over in our habits. And so it might feel weird, and you have to engage the core, this deep low belly position. There's a little tuck of the tailbone down because we're giving a squish of the knees. Roll these shoulders back. There's a lot going on here. And now you're feeling the weight of the body activate from the rib down. We're balancing the length, this balance of the hips. So I also want you to think about that in trikonasana because we're going to engage what happens. So trikonasana is triangle pose. It's a leg, it's whatever leg out forward and your toe should be, it's at some direction out the end of the mat. The back foot is at some angle from 90 degrees in. And you can see right now that I just slammed into this pose. I'm wonky, all right? My knees are locked, number one. I'm up out of this, I'm leaning back into this hip, so I'm out of this forward hip. And look at, I'm crooked, right? My belly button is off in one direction. I have no core strength here. My shoulders are just, at a weird angle. And it's just not healthy. So I want you to think about two things. The next thing I need you to think about is your knees. Are your knees? Yeah, are your knees. And that squish, because we have a tendency when our legs are extended to snap back. And I'll show you in this direction. So if you snap into your knees, look what happens to your booty. I just lost the power of my core. I'm compressing my low back, and now I'm out of this. And then, right, it doesn't matter how engaged I am through the shoulders and the chest. I'm not doing anything with my core. So if you give me a little squish in the knees, what happens is you have to tuck that tailbone a little and draw up through the low belly. Now I'm working, right? Now I'm activating through the core from my hip to my shoulder. I can roll those shoulders now. It's very powerful. And you can hear it in my breath, right? I'm engaged. I'm working up that weight. So I want you to think about squish in the knees. So here's where we're going to go with this. We're going to go squish in the knees. So here's where we're going to go with this. Squish in the knees, balance in the hips, strong activation of the low belly, and opening up these shoulders. All right. So let's just turn, I'm gonna turn my right foot out because that's the direction that I'm gonna work with you. Now, we talked about foot placement and neutral position, right? Neutral stance, wide stance, narrow stance, right? Triangle pose is a little combo. It's a wide stance laterally, okay? It's a longitudinal stretch, right? If we're talking directionality of the mat. But what is in alignment on a balance beam, heel to heel. Now, I've talked about the balance beam when we did lunges. I've talked about that when we talked about chair pose. But wait a minute, Julia, you don't want our feet in alignment. This is a kind of a technical exception to that rule because we are in wide alignment, right? Where we have lateral space between the feet this way, which provides us support and stability. What I want you to think about in this triangle pose, your heels are going to be in alignment. So I'm just going to turn my right foot out to a comfortable angle. Be mindful of torque on the knee. Your foot does not have to be straight out to the end of the mat. In fact, mine's turned in a little bit at a, I don't know, not quite, it's kind of aimed, my big toe is kind of aimed toward the corner of my mat. And that protects my knee. I don't want to feel any excess torque trying to force my foot to parallel the mat. So I have a little bit of rotation of my foot toward the corner of my mat, which gives me the squish in the knee. Sorry, it allows me to have squish in the knee without any torque or tension on the adductors, which help support the knee, okay? But my heels are in the same plane. I didn't move my foot side to side to create that angle. I'm going to turn my hips to parallel the side of the mat. So your hip wants to go naturally toward that corner with the extension of that leg. I want you to turn the hips to parallel the mat. So you'll see my belly button is facing you, right? Rather than looking off into the distance. That angle of my toe allows me that rotation. If my foot were in parallel, if my big toe were aiming straight out the end of the mat, it would be very uncomfortable. You might all be feeling that tension and tightness, and then you need to turn that toe even further in with this rotation, all right? I've got squish in my knees. Can you give me a little squish, right? I'm gonna draw up and in, so I'm extending my legs without locking, and I want you to tuck that tailbone just a little, draw up through the belly. We're working a lot. Now I've just activated the energy all the way down to my feet. I'm gonna lift up and engage my core up to the bottom rib. And now I want you to rock these shoulders open. I'm gonna leave my fingers here for now. And now I want you to feel balanced. So give me that sway side to side, that little hula hoop, so that you can get into that balance of the hips. All right? So now I'm reaching up through the muscles of my legs from my knees. I'm pressing down through the legs. And I am engaged up the core, my shoulders are open. So that is the foundation and strength of trikonasana. That's where the balance and the stability come from. All right, so I want you to imagine, we're just gonna tick-tock. So imagine your belly button is the center of a clock, and we're going to tick-tock that elbow without shrugging the shoulders, without popping into this hip. In fact, just put your hand on that back hip. I want you to lift up and imagine tick-tocking around that pivot of the belly button, and you just activated these obliques. And you can hear my breath. That is triangle pose. Lengthen that arm out. Okay, let's pull deeper into the belly and unwind. Woo! I'm gonna turn my toe in. Give me a little step in, step in. Let's take a little hula hoop and engage that core. All right. Did you feel that? Okay, so here's where I feel that energy. I feel that engagement through my glute med, my piriformis, and my glute max, my quad on the extended leg, because it's holding my body in this balance. I'm feeling that heat right up through the obliques into the pecs, because that part of the body is extending, but also holding the body weight up. All right. So we're going to do that basic pose to the other side first, and then we're going to add an element. So same thing. I'm just going to take a comfortable angle. It doesn't have to be the widest stance. Okay. Give me squish in the knees. Engage up through the belly button. I want you to feel this core already active. Rotate those shoulders back. All right, now I'm going to turn my left foot out. I haven't done anything to my heel. My heels are in alignment here, but I have squish in my knees. Again, I'm at that slightly turned in with the toes. My belly button wants to track with my hips, but I want to rotate into this parallel position with the edge of the mat. Squish in the knees. All right, let's take the hands to the shoulders. Unclench the teeth, relax the neck. Now, once again, we're imagining that belly button is the center of the clock, and we're going to tick-tock over into that extension. Now, I've just fired up my core, my obliques. Now, I did feel a little release valve here, so I want you to balance out that hip. That was on me because I did it. Now lengthen out that arm. Woo! So now I'm wrapped up from the belly button into my teres minor. That's where I'm feeling that weight. My glutes are firing because they're protecting the core balance. Come on up. Ooh, turn that foot in. Step in. Yeah, feeling some heat. Little rotation with those hips. All right. Let's come forward. We're going to take some forward folding chair, little lateral extension. I'm actually just going to do it right here so I don't have to keep stepping side to side. Nice big reach up, soften the knees. All right, anchor. I'm going to keep my hips balanced, soften the knees, and I'm going to take that extension, drop that shoulder blade back. Notice I'm concentrating on keeping my hips in alignment with the heels rather than letting them sway out. And up. Let's take forward folding chair and release all the way down. Oh, are you feeling your low back? I'm feeling my low back. Oh. Let's trace on up. All right, we're going to add some energy to that trikonasana pose. Okay, so step out. It doesn't have to be the widest feet placement. We're going to step out, soften the knees, engagement of the core, balance those hips, open the shoulders. So this time, I'm going to turn my foot out. Now notice my belly button turned with my leg. I'm going to rotate my belly button back to face the camera, to face you, to parallel the edge of the mat. All right, we're going to take the release valve this time. And then we're going to do both of those poses, one with the release valve, one out of the release valve, and add the energy of the upper body. So you will have heard this pose, or if you've been in a class, you've heard this cue, keeping yourself between two panes of glass. I don't love that image because I have booty, okay? I'm not a tiny woman. I'm going to turn this way to show you what happens. So we're going to work it. Soft in the knees. You see I've got some soft in the knees. My legs are in alignment. I'm going to turn that front toe out. Squish in the knees. I'm going to engage the core. You see that little tilt of the tailbone down? Let's open up these shoulders. Okay, I'm keeping my hips engaged. I'm not taking a release valve yet. Here's what happens when people overextend in this pose with this idea that you're going to keep yourself between two panes of glass. If you overreach this lateral extension, what happens is people then sway back into their booty to get as far over, and now look at my body. I'm completely out of my lateral extension. I've turned this weird angle to get as far down towards my foot as I can, and that's really not the purpose of this pose. This pose is a lateral extension, right? Lateral extension meaning from hip to shoulder, creating length and strength in the core. So I'm gonna face you again. Let's get set up for it. This time I want you to keep your left hand on your left hip, but I want you to reach that right arm out. I'm gonna turn my palm to face you. I've got this shoulder shrug down, and I'm gonna tick-tock over this belly button. I'm keeping this hip in alignment with I'm keeping it in the same line as my quad, right? My femur. I'm gonna take it over, tick-tock, 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 and see, I'm just gonna be able to reach my fingertips to my knees. I'm pulled up and in through this core, my shoulders rocked back. I'm gonna turn, you guys hold that and breathe while I turn and show you what it looks like from this angle. All right, I'm gonna be here. I'm keeping my hips engaged. I'm gonna tick-tock and look at, I'm not overreaching, but I am stretching from the top of my hip up into my teres minor. Now I want you to do me a big favor and lift up away from that reach. And I'll show you what this looks like. Keep breathing. I know I'm asking you to hold that for a little bit longer than it's comfortable. Okay, I want you to take your finger to this hip now and reach up and away. Feel that engagement. Now I'm also holding my body weight up with my core. My fingertips are still in alignment with my knee. Come on up. Woo! Rock that out. Okay, let's do that on the other side just to balance it up, and then we're going to take our release valve and then we're going to cool down. So I'm just turning my foot out, balancing these hips. I got a little squish in the knee. Back arm is going to touch my right hand to right hip. Reach out with that left arm. Let's just pivot over. Soften the knee, soften the knee, soften the knee. I'm just going to bring those fingertips right to my knee. Oh, rock that shoulder back. My top shoulder rolled forward a little. Now put your finger on your rib and lift up and away. Lift up and away. Hold, hold and breathe. Unclench teeth, relax the head. The head's just hanging out there. And come on up. Ooh, and bring it in. Ooh, heat. Glutes, quads, all the way up the obliques into the back. Wiggle the toes, and I'm feeling my feet. Okay, let's take the release valve, and I'll show you why I like that one, but why it's not always, I mean, there are two versions. To me, I think there are two versions of that pose, right? That one, which is all about the upper body, all about the core, from the hips to the shoulders. And now this one is where we shift our triangle pose into the lower body, and I'll show you why I think it's okay. Gotta get a drink of water. Okay, let's just step out. Turn that right foot out. We're gonna be neutral. Get balance between those hips. Stay soft in those knees. You'll notice I'm not at the widest stance here, right? I'm not like overreaching, mostly because we're just doing some practice and we're getting into this pose. All right, so this triangle pose, we're gonna take this release valve. And what I mean by that release valve is, what we do is we reach out and we take a rib shift. So when we tick-tock, we're just pivoting around that belly button and we're not actually reaching out over the top of the leg. This release valve is a reach out over that leg, but we're gonna keep our hip as engaged as we can. It's not going to stay completely in alignment with our knee. It is going to tilt a little bit, but I don't want you to lock. I don't want you to sway all the way out so that you lock this front knee. See what happens when you lock that front knee? I'm in this wonky position again. Soften that knee. It lets you engage the core. We are going to lean back into that leg a little bit, but I still want you to keep the hip in alignment with the knee and the quad. Okay? So here's the release valve. Take your right arm, and I want you to reach like you were going to touch the wall. Don't reach down. Reach out towards the edge of that mat. So reach. Do you see what happens with my hips and my ribs? My hips kind of stay. I take a shift back into the heel of my back leg, and my ribs slide out and over. Now, if you take that extension, you're going to be a little bit deeper into this leg. I want you to roll that shoulder back. Now, You notice, come on out of that, shake. I'll turn this way. That release valve shifts your hip forward. I'm going to show it to you. You rest and breathe. Here's what happens when we take that release valve. So I'm in balance here, I'm engaged, soften the knees. If I take that release valve, see what happens with my, I'm gonna take it over, take it over, take it over. I roll forward out of that side placement, just a tiny bit. Here's the benefit of taking that release valve and reaching out over that leg. And you're gonna shift that work and stretch right into the adductor and the hamstring. So that's why people are overreaching in this position. Also, I have to widen up my stance to do that one to get it right, okay? So let's reach out, reach out. You've got to keep a soft bend in that knee. I'm going to get a little further. And what happens with that hip sways back is that you get into this front leg, okay? But look at how forward my shoulder is. I can't keep my body rotated open and put it into the lateral extension if I take that release valve and tilt that hip up, okay? So you have to kind of decide. Let's do that on the other side. It's getting hot in here. All right, we're gonna take that slight release valve. I'm gonna put my hand on my hip just to keep that cue. I want to open that shoulder. Reach out. Now reach, 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 and take that stretch. Do you see what happens? I come up out of this hip, keep soft in that knee, but you can feel this more strongly in the adductor and the hamstring. But look, my shoulder has rolled forward rather than being rotated back and in parallel with my leg. Oh, come on up out of that. Woo, all right. Let's take nice big forward fold. Come on up. Release on down. Let's hang here for just a minute. Oh yeah, you feeling those obliques and that low back? Oh, little sway side to side. All right. Let's take it down to the floor. And have a seat. All right, we're gonna take a little rock side to side. I'm gonna grab my shirt again because it has been super muggy for Colorado lately. If you're, I don't know when you're logging in or joining me on this video, but it is in this moment in the space-time continuum, it is July, and it feels like June weather, doesn't it? I mean, I'm glad it's not hot, but. All right, we're gonna come down and just take a little squeeze of the knees. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Give them a squeeze. Oh, take a little rock side dive, feeling that low back. Woo, feeling the hips and the obliques. All right, we're gonna take a big stretch and a big twist. And the reason we're gonna take a big twist, so normally we wouldn't twist after a non-twisting practice, but we just did so much warming up and heat in this low back and these obliques that I want you to take this big twist. Reach back with that shoulder. And let's slide on up and take that stretch on the other side. Come on up. We're going to take the hands to the insides of the knees and press out, roll the ankles, wiggle the toes. Now you're feeling those adductors, right? We did all of that core supporting work with the legs. I wasn't feeling a lot of tension or activation in the upper legs, but we did it, right? Because I'm feeling it on this stretch. Bring those knees up toward the shoulders, keep them wide. And take that release in the low back. All right, let's press the heel up toward the ceiling. Interlace those fingers behind the leg. Just take a little easy hamstring stretch. Are you feeling your upper leg now? I am. And let's switch. Press that heel up, take a little stretch. Just a nice, easy extension of the hamstring. All right, bring those knees in a little bit. Take a little scan of the body. Do you have a favorite stretch? Now's the time to do it. We're gonna move down for a brief Shavasana. I'm gonna keep my feet on the floor and my knees toward the ceiling because we just did all that work and I wanna kind of keep that energy released. So I'm gonna take a little side to side with the hips, keeping my feet on the mat, a little wider so my knees can tent in. Soften the breath, soft, easy inhale, soft, silent exhale. Travel through the line of that forehead and notice all those tiny little muscles and nerve endings. Cross the top of the face. And then relax completely, smooth the forehead out. Let's continue that relaxation down through the cheeks, unclench the teeth. Let the tongue relax away from the roof of the mouth. Feel the shoulders get heavy against the mat. Travel through the biceps and the triceps, down through the elbows, a little wiggle of the fingers. And now let's let the upper body take its rest against the floor. Let's think about those ribs and the line of the spine from the base of the neck down between the hips. Take a little rock side to side and then just let the tailbone, the hips, and the glutes relax toward the floor. Feel that energy through the quads and the hamstrings. We want to relax that energy down through the space of the knee. Feel soft through the calves, a little wiggle of the toes. And now let's just let the body rest. Pull that attention and awareness into the space and quality of your thinking. Your to-do list might be amping up. Let's slide it off to the side for just a minute. We're going to hold that silence and follow the inhale and exhale into and out of the lungs. All right, let's pull some deeper breaths into the lungs. Big filling inhales, big sighing exhales. Wiggling the fingers, rolling the wrists. I'm going to lengthen the legs down the end of the mat, reaching those arms out to the side. Sweep those arms up. Oh, reach out and above the head. Nice big stretch. And I'm going to bring my knees up one at a time. Taking a knee up, giving it a squeeze. Bringing the other knee up, give it a squeeze, and rocking side to side. Until you're ready to rock over to one side completely, resting head on your arm. And now I'm going to lengthen my top leg. We're going to work ourselves up into comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you at the end of practice. I'm going to take a little rock side to side. I want to roll my shoulders back. I'm going to take a lean to one side, take that stretch over, and lean to the other side. All right, I'm going to stack shoulders over ribs, ribs over hips. take a scan of the body, checking in state and quality of the physical form on this end of the practice. And now we're going to draw our attention and awareness into the state and quality of our thinking. Maybe your to-do list is ready to go. We want to move some things back into that list, into that queue with a little bit of elbow room. No pushing, no shoving. And finally, let's just check in with that breath, that soft, easy inhale, soft, silent exhale. It really is what serves us and gets us through our day, but we really don't notice it until it is not serving us. If it's impinged or hindered in any way, then it becomes an issue. All right, I'm going to release my fingers to the mat. I'm blinking my eyes open, and I'm going to take this big final stretch to the ceiling to release that practice. You do not have to join me if that's not going to work for you. Letting all of that go, taking a moment to honor your body for doing what you asked it to do today and all the hard work it does to get you from one end of the week to the other. Thank you so much for coming and supporting the online branch of the fucking yoga company. My name is Julia. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at yoga@jclynn.com. Check out the website, check out the schedule. We're going to be adding some classes for August, which doesn't affect you if you're watching this at a later date. We're just slowly working through our tech issues, slowly working through getting everything streamlined. Again, thank you for your patience and your support. Like, subscribe, recommend. Have a good day.